Okay, it's 6:37. We'll call to order the general government and public safety meeting. Attendance has been taken. Any comments from citizens? Seeing none, we'll move on to the police department. Favor reports in the packet. Anything you want to point out, sir?
We're finally getting all of our cars, finally, everything installed in them. We're trying to get some more, got some stop sticks that we're gonna be putting in cars as soon as we get everybody trained, for lack of better words, on deploying them. We still got a little bit of money left in the cars. I'm trying to use that money to make sure all the cars are outfitted with the stuff that we need. We bought fire extinguisher mounts for the cars, so every car has a fire extinguisher. They're all gonna have stop sticks, they're all gonna have, rifles in them. They're also gonna have less lethals in them as soon as I get those back. We're just converting our old shotguns over to fire less lethal rounds, and that's just another option for the cops on the road if they need it. Still trying to work on getting some of the other money that was allotted for the building, to get some of the things done in the building, like the doors and prox locks for the doors, to try to secure that hallway area where the cell is and where our evidence stuff is, so. But overall, that's really probably the biggest thing that we're looking at.
Sounds like making progress.
Slow and steady goes to the race, right?
Any questions for the police department? Moving on to the fire, I don't see anything in the packet.
For December?
Anything you want to fill us in on?
I mean, our December was, as we all know, Christmas trees and stuff like that. A lot of time involved in gathering it up. And we want to thank everybody that helped SAC and get it ready to go. Lots of medical calls, lots of vehicle wrecks in December. We're still looking for new fire trucks, or like a ladder or a Quint or something like that. Everybody's got one for sale, but then they're not ready to give them up yet, you know, to the same old thing with theirs coming in, which who knows how long that'll be. And we've also discussed, I mean, when you get we're gonna be in the area of a 20-year-old vehicle when we purchase one probably. So it's gonna put us in a lot of 20, 30-year-old fire trucks, so we've been in discussion with a guy that writes grants. I mean, we're just trying to get preliminary, what's involved in it, this and that, so. I think he basically charges $2,500, I think, is that what it says?
Yeah, 25 or 2,200.
This is the guy that we talked about.
No, this is a different
This is the
guy.
guy that works with North.
This is a different guy.
Yeah.
This guy did North Callaway and got them 500,000 last year, and like 600,000 the year before. So,
So, I mean, we've been contacting him, see what it's about, this and that. I mean, if we get a ladder truck or a Quint or something like that, that still puts us with 35, 30-year-old fire trucks, so we're gonna have to do something sooner or later, but we're gonna be way behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. If we can get some grant money and get something a lot
Something.
more done.
You're gonna have to empty your pocketbooks, I don't know.
When we get one, are we gonna get rid of one, or are we gonna just add to the fleet?
You know, I mean, you'd probably be better off getting rid of one. I mean, they're not gonna be worth.
We won't make much on ours.
No, I mean,
Okay.
it's not gonna hit the gold mine,
It might be the beginning of seed money for a new one way down the road, but
There's only so many spots we can put a truck in over there,
Yeah.
so I mean.
definitely interested in hearing how those conversations play out and probably worth spending the money.
Is that something you can apply for ARPA money for?
I
I'm just curious.
don't know, I'd have to look at the ARPA rules, I don't remember too much of that. I'd have to grant writing part of it, or what are you talking about?
No,
For the
just
fire truck?
money for a fire truck through ARPA.
I don't think they have a
I
big
don't
I
grant.
think so, I
I
thought
don't
you
think
checked the
that's-
last time.
Yeah.
We did it.
You didn't meet the qualifications.
Flush sewers with a fire truck, can't you? Said you can flush sewers with a fire truck, right? Is that how that works?
I guess so. I mean, we have help before.
One thing to add with the fire, I have been working with, the fire department with their ISO rating. Aaron was involved with the water side, obviously it goes, hand in hand. And we did get our ISO rating up, well, really back to normal, with some documentation, stuff like that, so that's good news for, or at least Maryland says it's good news, for that, so.
Okay, anything for other public safety?
Just right quick, there may be a more appropriate time to talk about this, but is there gonna be a time in the future where we can talk about, like, kind of, I know we're in budget talks now, we'll talk about kind of where we're wanting to go with the police department, like, maybe adding a personnel or another car, is there gonna be a more appropriate time to talk about that?
So we've talked,
Right.
and then.
But I had Stobie here just in case we would have additional questions about scheduling, because he runs the interference on that and, you know, fills the spots that need to be filled, and he may have a better, clearer answer for you than I would, per se, speaking about scheduling and what he goes through when he's trying to schedule stuff.
So generally, I meet with all the department heads. You guys give me your asks and your needs that you're needing for the next budget year. I plug in the numbers and run everything so that the Board of Aldermen can see, how it impacts the budget, where we're at with, revenues and our expenditures, and then we have work sessions to make decisions from there. And generally during the work sessions is when, if you guys wanna come in
Okay,
and talk to the board about those items.
works for me. We'll just have him come back.
That's right. Moving on to economic development, there's nothing in the packet. I didn't see anything for Park Board either. Library Board, the agenda and the minutes was in the packet. Anything to discuss? I didn't see anything for cemetery or tree, so bring us to our accounts payable of $1,250. Any questions? Under other general government, we've got a use tax discussion. Is this about how we wanted to allocate the 2.5%?
Yes, and actually, speaking with Sydney today about that, and yeah, sorry, I've got Sydney on Zoom right now. Right? Yep, I just saw your comments are in the chat. And they disappeared.
Basically, it just says that if you guys wanna buy a fire truck using ARPA funds, you can do so.
Gotcha, okay.
I think at this time though, the ARPA funding is pretty well maxed out. There's not really any other rounds coming up other than the secondary round of this go through, right?
Right, yeah.
Available. So I wouldn't count on ARPA being something that would be an ongoing thing at this point. I think it's on in its life cycle probably as an opportunity. Doesn't mean we shouldn't get as much of what's available still, right? I think it's going around with that.
I can definitely check in with Boone County and see what, don't remember that being on their list, but I'll double check. And Robert, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Use tax.
The use tax. So I was speaking with Sydney today, and the use tax is a general revenue tax, and we're not gonna be able to allocate it to other funds. Because we can't. Sydney, could you, fill the board in on that?
Yeah, so a general revenue tax simply means that, yeah, that way I don't know if they can see me or not, but this way, you know, a general revenue tax is for general revenue. You guys can allocate out where that money goes, just like you do when you budget for and establish your general fund. But let's say, for instance, you know, it were to be said that, you know, citizens, that we're gonna be using the use tax for X project. The board and the current mayor and the constitution of this board cannot bind future boards to commitments you make to voters on how you, I guess, present how you intend to use the use tax, because it is a general revenue tax. So therefore, it goes into general revenue and you choose to spend it however you choose to spend it.
So we could choose to spend it on park purchases, but we can't allocate it, say that we're going to allocate it to park purchases.
So what we
Does that
did
make
last
sense?
year probably wasn't the right thing to do.
Well, so,
'Cause we
the
had
police
set-
department and the fire department are general revenue, so yes, that was okay. And the sidewalk, that's all general revenue, so yeah, that was all fine. But to say we're going to, spend it like we do the sales tax and put 0.5% is gonna be allocated to the park, we're not gonna be able to do that.
We can't break it out that way. Yeah.
Right.
It's be general, just general revenue, revenue.
But say if the park came to the board and requested funds for an item, then you could use those funds for something like that.
Right, these are just not restricted funds, I think is what the mayor described, so you can't just restrict them for a specific purpose, they just literally go into the pool with the rest of your general revenue money, and you all determine how that will be spent.
Okay. I see it's on our agenda for our next meeting. Any discussion on it? Okay. About the Rollins and Sneed Street intersection discussion.
So we had talked previously about turning that intersection into a four-way stop. It's the only intersection on the square that is not a four-way stop. It has confused people for years. They pull up and they stop at where there's not a stop sign. And now with the addition of the angled parking, it's a little difficult to see around. So I was speaking with Sydney today, and she recommended that we get written recommendations from our administration and the police department on whether or not they agree that it be a four-way stop, and then you guys could vote on it next month.
There's gonna be a four-way stop at every corner, if we did this.
Yes, yep.
Does anybody know why it was never a four-way stop?
I do not.
Probably didn't park in the car like you did.
Where you gonna put the stop sign along the sidewalk over here? You gonna stick it out in the street?
We just anchored to the sidewalk like we do.
Well, if they parking cars at an angle, how are you gonna see that stop sign with them cars?
Just have to use a big one, put it up a little higher. It'd be the only way we do it.
Yeah,
What I,
it'd have to get up above the
Harlan,
cars
what I
for
heard
somebody to
years
see.
ago was that it was because the police department needed to be able to move out quick and they didn't want cars in their way, which didn't make any sense.
Then you're gonna be way over at the post office. Cause it's wider. I mean, that stop sign's gonna be way out there. Not even close to the intersection.
Wouldn't you say?
I've never noticed it to be that big of an issue.
So you got a lot of cars that are trying to back up.
For what, stop sign?
To not having the stop signs there.
Yeah, I didn't either, I don't.
Yeah, stop sign is gonna be hard for them, but positive side of the stop sign being there is a crosswalk.
I mean, you put them there, you're gonna cause them trouble for a while.
Police department give us a recommendation.
Roundabout.
on their thoughts?
And city staff, yeah.
I'll send it over.
Okay.
I'll just give it to you, Terry.
And we'll put it in the packet for next month's meeting.
Okay. Any Yasmin Rise?
Just, sorry, keep thinking of these things. Considering, the fees for, we talked about this, did you mention it to anybody? about the fees
Mm,
for the golf carts and the fees for, sunshine stuff. I think, the last time our fees for sunshine, copying this and that are based off of old wages, and that we're thinking that it might need to be raised because of more and more sunshine requests are coming in, more times being devoted to it. So it's not crazy, but, you know, I think it needs to keep with the times.
Yep.
We also discussed, and I know this is probably not gonna be a popular thing, but the fees going up for the, golf carts from $15 to $20. That is something for y'all to discuss, and
I think,
I mean, the golf cart I can see, because nobody can break change.
well, when we were talking about that, we're gonna see if we
I
can.
mean,
move
we don't
that
keep
line.
cash over there.
Yeah,
so-
that's,
So Cindy's got to research that, I think, for us to see if we can make that big a jump.
And with the sunshine law
Yeah.
request, that's all governed by state statute. Yes, we need to update the language in our ordinance, but we aren't able to set those.
Well, I'm not saying go outside of what the Missouri law says, I'm just saying increase it within what the Missouri state.
To be uniform with what the state,
Yeah, because I think ours is based on $10 an hour that nobody makes. So the person that does that makes more than that. So I mean, it would be reasonable to say things are cost more than they did 20 years ago. So, and only, really the only person it affects is the people that are wanting our reports that we paid for. All the material, we paid for all that, so, our costs have gone up, so, you know, naturally that gets passed along in everything that we do. So,
There's room for the rate increase, it would make sense. I mean, we're not trying to make money off of it, but we don't wanna lose money.
but you don't want to continue to continually provide information for somebody just wanting information. This would
That's one
validate that they have a
aspect of it.
real need. They
I mean-
want the information for a real need in their eyes, and there's some costs associated with it. It's not exorbitant amount.
the information, we're required to give it, so, I mean, but we're not required to give it for free, so.
We just wanna make sure we're not losing money.
Right.
We gotta
Yep.
pay, cover the expense. And raising the golf cart fee, I mean, that's not a big deal.
we got new stickers over yet?
They are ordered, yep.
They're there?
$40.
I'm not a rider.
Okay.
Anyway, so do I need to bring that back up, or is it just things that you're gonna put on the agenda to discuss later, or vote on, or whatever? Okay.
Okay. Any other as may arise?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor? Any opposed?